in learning more about the health professions early on, because that just helps you prepare yourself more for the future when you start thinking about these things coming into the university. And for those of you who've been here for a little while already, that's okay too. I mean, it's never too late to learn. So welcome. Shonda's a great resource, being an NSM career specialist, career center. Shonda, do you want to introduce yourself? So anyways, I'm the director of the Health Professions Advising Office, and I can help you with all your pre-health advising needs. And it doesn't matter what major you are, what college you're from. So, I know you're all NSM, but if you have a friend who's in public health, for example, but they're interested in being a doctor or a dentist or an optometrist or any of those health-related professions, I'm more than happy to speak to them. I've also talked and worked with students who have already graduated from Cal State Fullerton. They're alumni now. A lot of times when it comes to health professions, it takes a while to be prepared, to get everything you need done before you apply. So, I still help people with their personal statements and or their general preparation for applying, even after graduation, just on the fact that you're an alumnus. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Shonda. Shonda's from the Career Center. So Shonda.
Hi everyone, I'm Shonda Shisaka. So I'm the career specialist for the College of Natural Science and Mathematics. And so I know that there's always a big group of students who are interested in going in the health field. And so that's why we wanted to do this, and especially in the summer, because this might be a great way to learn about all the resources for you, and that way you can get started ahead of time. Just putting some rules here and kind of how the workshop will go. Try to keep yourself on mute during the workshop, just so there's no outside distraction. Try to save your questions to the end, or you can also use the chat feature, and then we'll look at those questions at the end after we're done presenting and respond to those. And I'm recording the work presentation too, so after this workshop, I will send you a copy by email. And really the goal today is really for you to learn about the services offered to you by the Health Profession Advising Office, and also the career.
All right, sounds fantastic. All right.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, so the outline will just be health profession advising. So Dr. Mutapa, she'll go first for 20 minutes, and then I'll follow about the Career Center, and then we'll do a question and answers time. But actually, I actually have a poll that I made. So actually, I might have to get out of the presentation. Let me exit this. Actually, does the poll show? No, I might just skip the poll. Oh, wait. I can launch the poll. Okay, now I have the poll on. I think that it's working.
Well, yeah, some people are,
working. Okay, so I put a poll in here, and basically the poll is if you could answer what health profession you're interested in pursuing, just so that we can kind of get an idea of what people are interested in. Okay, yeah, I see people filling it out, so it looks like.
Pretty cool.
I know. I only tried it once, and it didn't work how I wanted it, so I wanted to see this time.
I think I did this in a class years ago when everybody had to have one of those. You had to give them a clicker.
Oh, yes.
I think that technology is that
so we've got
gone kind of now. That was so 5 years ago. I don't know if
MD
people still do that.
and PA. Okay. And yeah, MD, med school, physician assistant. Those are the popular ones. That's kind of a little bit of farm. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? I think those are the popular ones, or the ones that are most popular. Okay, so.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks for participating. Yes, that way it gives us a great idea of who's in the room. So I'll end that poll, and then we'll continue on. So here will be where Dr. Mutapa is going to talk about the Health Professions Advising Office.
Okay, so I'll just close this, and just so you know, well, what professions does the Health Professions Advising Office advise for? So basically all the health professions you can think of. Allopathic medicine is MD. Osteopathic medicine is a DO. Maybe you have seen a DO when you've gone for a doctor's appointment. Oftentimes they work in settings where MDs work. Quite often, most often I would say. Dentistry, podiatry, veterinary medicine, pharmacy, physician assistant, and optometry. And for all of these health professions, we do offer committee letters for qualified students. And so a committee letter is a letter on behalf of the Health Professions Committee on campus. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But we are familiar, my office is familiar with advising for all those professions. I'm the main advisor, and I have a coordinator. Her name is Ashley Chrysakis. So another thing in recent years, we were also advising for some of the allied health professions, occupational therapy, public health, and physical therapy. So we're expanding. Students a lot of times will go in, interested in allopathic medicine, for example, and then, after a couple of years of experience, they realize they want to be a dentist or a veterinarian, and that's perfectly fine. If you change gears, that's fine. I can, help you think about how to go about doing that. Is that in your best interest, etc. Sometimes we even discuss other health professions, as I show: respiratory therapy, chiropractic medicine, midwifery, naturopathy. There's so many fields within health that you can get into that sometimes people aren't aware about till later, and these are great careers as well. So on to the next slide. And appointments with the Health Professions Advising Office, normally in my office is in Gordon Hall, room 23. Our office is open Monday through Friday, 12 months out of the year. So if you want to see me in the summer, we're open. If you want to see me in intersession, we're open. We're pretty much open, and unless there's major holidays like Christmas, New Year's, that kind of stuff. Appointment website, it's pretty easy to remember, www.fullerton.edu/health professions. When you go to that website, you see, there's a lot of materials there for you to just learn more about the health professions, as well as schedule an appointment. There's a link to do that as well when you get to that website. I typically do 20-minute appointments. These days, normally I do a combination of in-person or phone appointments. These days, we also do Zoom or phone, and it's me. When I say we, I say me. Appointments on the phone or Zoom. Also, I'm amenable to quick questions. So let's say you don't have time for a 20-minute appointment, or you just want to slip in a quick question to me. Go ahead and email me. Students do that all the time, and I reply back typically within 24 hours. So we can go on to the next slide. Different advisors. So, a lot of times, this is a big campus. There's 40,000 plus students on our campus. And it's a natural feeling to get lost, especially when you first come here. Like, where do I go? Where do I begin? I hear that quite often. I think even yesterday, I don't even know where to start. I did my orientation, but I still don't know what I'm supposed to do. Well, there's different people who can help you. So in your department, so if you're a biology major, you have some sort of biology advising. If you're a chemistry major or a math major, you have somebody within your department who is responsible for advising you. Of course, the structure might be different depending on what department you're in. I think biology, they do group advising the first year or two, and then you might meet with an assigned advisor later on. Other majors might do it differently, where you get one-on-one advising from the beginning. So there's your department advisors for your major. There's also retention specialists. So you have an NSM retention specialist. Would that be Sam, Shonda, or was that, there's not Tatiana anymore. I think, is it Sam?
Oh, actually we have a new person, Brittany.
Oh, Brittany. Okay.
And Sam's now doing graduation.
Okay. So you have a retention specialist, and so that person supports NSM students in their academic success, mostly first and second year students. So if you're, having any big issues, or just, retention means, to help you stay at Cal State Fullerton. They're the ones who, that person is the one, Brittany is the one who's going to help you in that area if you'd like. Your major advisor can do the same. And then graduation specialist, you have Sam Barroso, and this is your college NSM advisor to make sure that you have met all the requirements to graduate. And this is mostly, you'd see him for your third and fourth year, make sure you check off all the boxes, that there's no surprises your last semester, that, oh my God, I didn't take this requirement, I didn't do that requirement. So those are the different advisors. And actually the next slide, I even have more advisors to talk about. The GE advisors. So they are GE specialists at the Academic Advisement Center. They help all students figure out which GE classes are best for them to take given their major. So there's a lot of advisors for them too. I want to say 9 or so. And they do half-hour appointments, and they know GE inside out, upside down. Career Center, Shonda, of course, is your Career Center specialist who knows a lot about NSM-related careers, how to get relevant experience. Do you want to add more to that, Shonda?
That's good. I'll probably talk about that. But yeah, but I guess a big thing is I don't do anything academic. So I know when students ask me about actually like what classes to take for med school or things, I'll tell you to talk to Dr. Natapa, basically.
Yeah. And then when it comes to logistics of landing an internship, that kind of thing, I feel like Shonda is the expert on that too. And so sometimes I refer people to Shonda. Health professions advising. So I help all students who have an interest in health-related professions to prepare themselves for that career. The only one that I would say that's health-related that there's actually advisors for that is nursing. So nursing does have a couple of, like 2-3 advisors for nursing. Sometimes they get kind of swamped. And so, you know, students have ended up coming to me asking nursing questions. And so one day I did meet one of the nursing advisors for an hour and a half, and she told me a lot about how she advises students. So, you know, as a backup, you know, what little knowledge I do have of nursing, I do share in case you couldn't get in with a nursing advisor. But anyways, but all the other professions that Health Professions Advising Office does advise for. All right, next slide. So confused, where should you start? So I told you about all these different advisors really quickly. I mean, kind of blew through it. So you may not, I don't expect you to remember. So where should you start? Honestly, any of the above. If you end up in Shonda's, you know, talking to Shonda on Zoom, that's fine. If you end up talking to me on Zoom, that's fine. If you talk to your department advisor, that's fine. Because we all kind of know each other. You know, over the years, we've gotten to know each other. And we know to refer people to the right people. So you're in okay hands as long as you end up somewhere and don't just kind of, you know, hide away, you know, in your place and never talk to anybody. So, you know, just go out and say, help, I don't know about GE classes. I don't even know where to go about GE classes. I would have some knowledge because I've, you know, advised many students and have seen many TDAs. But for even further advice, I put the referral into you for the Academic Advisement Center or to see Shonda about more career-related opportunities. So yeah, we all have a little general knowledge of each other's field, and then we also know to refer you to the right people as needed. So next slide. Typical students questions students ask me coming into my office. What classes do I need to get into the health professions? I do cover that quite a bit. I do help students quite a bit figure out how to get in. Let's say there's some prerequisites that you need for a given profession, but they're not in your major. I help you figure out, like, okay, maybe you could do it this semester, that semester, this semester, that kind of thing. Can we map out my course schedule over the years? Absolutely. Do I have good enough grades to get into health professions I'm interested in? Sure, we talk about that kind of stuff. How can I get more experience? We certainly talk about that. And I also refer Shonda oftentimes. What do I need to do to stand out as an applicant? How do I ask for a letter of recommendation? Can you review my personal statement and give me feedback? Absolutely, I do that. You know, when you get around to applying, the next step is you wait to get interviews. Okay, well, can you help me on my interview skills? Absolutely. Actually, Shonda works on personal statement reviews and interview skills as well. So we both do these kind of things. And we also talk about much more. So I guess next slide. Typical questions I ask students. So now, you know, what I ask sometimes isn't what you come in expecting to talk about, because I might ask you some big picture stuff like, how is your work-life balance going? How well have you been managing your time to study? Are college classes a lot harder for you than it was in high school? And I'm not doing this to be like a nosy parent kind of thing, but those kind of pieces of information is very useful to know about, because we can use it to help make you an individualized plan in terms of coursework, in terms of gaining the experience you need. Because, you know, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. I will say that. So you might have a friend who's enrolled in 17 units and works 20 hours a week and does, you know, as a member or the president of a club and a member of 4 other student organizations. That might work well for them. Doesn't mean that it needs to work for you. You know, everybody's different. Everybody comes with varying preparedness, I would say, for the classes that they're getting into. So some people might need more time to do better in classes, and others need less time. So that's why I ask these kind of things, so we could do what's most realistic for you. And I don't want you to feel the pressure of doing what your friends are doing, because it might work well for you. I want to emphasize that for your freshman year. You know, you don't have to do what your friends doing. Do what's best for you. You know, study skills. Some of us have to, you know, some like me, it took me a couple of years to figure out my study skills because I didn't have to try hard in high school. When I got to college, I was like, there's a lot of material to learn and retain for an exam. So, you know, some of us have better study skills than others. Doesn't mean that we're better or worse students. It's just we come in different shapes and sizes and levels of preparedness. Which classes are you enjoying the most right now? What are the biggest challenges you have in reaching your career goals? What do you like most about the profession you're trying to get into? So I kind of ask these questions now because I kind of wonder sometimes, are you in the best major for yourself? Maybe you thought you wanted to be a bio major, but really you want to do something else like psychology, or you want to do math, or whatever it is. And there's no harm, no foul if you decide that a different major is better for you. It's good to have an open mind early so that you could switch early potentially versus trying to, you know, suffer through something you don't like for so long. And then you decide, oh, I only have 2 classes left in this major. And you're like, oh, well, I guess maybe you should try to finish it out. I don't know. So, you know, that's okay too. You know, you're new to this. And so if you decide that you want to change your major, that's okay too. And still get into med school and dental school or whatever it is. You know, it can happen. What else do I want to say? What do you like most? Because some people have an idea that they want to be a doctor, but then after further probing, it's like, you know what, maybe you'd want to be an occupational therapist. That might be a better fit for you. I think you actually might like that more. So that's why I kind of ask these questions. So anyways, we can go on to the next screen. Other services and resources our office provides. So we have a lot of pre-health student organizations on our campus. And I'll list those in a subsequent slide. Binders of information about specific health professional schools and other careers you may not have known about. Well, okay, my binders are in my office. Shonda and I can't go to our offices because our campus is closed, but even still, I could refer you to online websites, that kind of thing, and say, oh, look this up, look that up. We could definitely do that. Intent to apply, bullet point 3, is a service for students who are ready to apply to professional school. So typically this right now, June, July, August, is a time of year that students are busy doing that. So we help students in terms of giving them a letter of recommendation. If they qualify, they meet certain objective criteria, as well as I help them with personal statements and that kind of thing as well. We also have something that might be interesting to you is the pre-health professions minor. We have that. I'll discuss that as well in case you were looking for a minor to add to your major. Just so you know, sometimes people get confused about this. Everybody must have a major, and a minor is optional. If you want to add a minor or 2, you certainly can. Number 5, linkage agreements, which is conditional early acceptance. So this is pretty cool. We have contracts with other universities, other professional schools, like, you know, medical school, dental school, etc., podiatry school. And so if we have a student who is showing some academic potential and they want to go to that school, like for example, Western University, we can have you meet somebody at Western University, and if the interview goes well, what they could give you is a conditional acceptance for you to get into the school without even applying to other schools. They're just going to basically reserve a seat for you so that 2 years later, for example, as soon as you graduate, you can go and go into that school without applying to other places. That saves a lot of money. All right, next. Oh, I think I can even change this. Maybe I can't. No, I guess, I don't know. It's working well. I don't need to break this. Okay. So anyways, some student organizations. If you go to www.fullerton.edu, which is our main website, and you go to the search bar on the right side, you could click on, you could type in Titan Link, and from there you can navigate and find all student organizations on our campus. These alone on this slide are our pre-health student organizations that are useful to join. Student Health Professions Association, Flying Samaritans, they go to Mexico once a month to do some mission trips, that kind of thing. The Student Health Professions Association, they cover multiple professions. The American Medical Student Association, Latino Medical Student Association are good organizations for students with a pre-med interest. We got the Pre-Dental Society, Spanish for Health Services. So if you want to learn medical terminology in Spanish, you don't have to be Spanish speaking. You're still welcome to that club. Physician assistants for physician assistants. The Allied Health Student Association is for basically occupational therapy and physical therapy, and public health. We got the Pre-Optometry Club, Pre-Veterinary Club. I recommend joining any of these clubs because, one, you can meet other students who have similar career interests as you, and you can find out, oh, that's where you volunteered. Oh, that's where you worked. Oh, that's where you shadowed. Oh, I have someone to take these classes with. Number two, you get to meet guest speakers who might be in the field, and you get to learn more about what the field is like, or you might get to talk to admissions directors, that kind of thing. So you're just more knowledgeable about the career that you're intending to go into. So those are good reasons to join student organizations. And I have flyers for all of them. So if you're potentially interested, you talk to me in a meeting, I'll email you those flyers, and they have their social media info so I can get you linked up with those student organizations. Or you can also do it directly through Titan Link as well. All right, next slide. Intent to apply. So when you are ready to apply to a health professional school, typically it's after your junior year or even after you graduate. So another thing I want to emphasize, the first thing I want to emphasize, you don't have to do what your friends are doing. You don't have to keep up with their pace or whatever they're doing. Secondly, you don't have to keep up with other people in terms of when they apply. If you apply 1 year, 2 years later than your friends, that is perfectly okay. I'm on an admissions committee for med school. That's rarely discussed unless it took somebody 7 years to graduate. Then you're kind of like wondering, why did it take them that long? You know, if you're just not ready because you need more experience, that is perfectly okay. You know, everybody has their own timeline, and we can always discuss those things. So the benefits of intent to apply is students pay less for application processing. So when you do the application thing yourself, you have to pay a fee to be able for your letter writers, people who write you letters of recommendation, to write you a letter and then upload it onto the centralized application system. Well, through us, it's a lower price, and what happens is the letter writers, your people who write letters for you, send it directly to our office. And then we upload it for you, and we get a flat fee from you, which isn't as expensive as if you were to do it on your own. Also, students with at least a 3.2 GPA in science, which science classes are all your biology, chemistry, and math, physics courses, as well as a 3.2 overall GPA, and sufficient experience. So you have clinical experience, let's say if you want to be a doctor. You know, if you have all those things and a letter of recommendation from a science professor as well as a clinician of some sort or healthcare provider, you qualify for a letter of recommendation from us, which we will write for you and upload for you with my name on it, and also the Health Professions Committee. I can also review your personal statement, essays, that kind of thing as well. And also, we have some exclusive scholarships opportunities. You know, not like thousands of dollars, but hundreds of dollars. We always have a few students who get some, you know, some awards through our office. Okay, next slide. Okay, the pre-health professions minor. This minor allows NSM students to double count a lot of their major coursework. For example, your chemistry 120A, chemistry 120B, biology 151, chemistry 301A, all count towards a pre-health professions minor, as well as your major in NSM, which is really cool. And all the courses in the minor must be completed with a B or better. So, you know, not B minus, but just B or better. And the reason we have that criterion is we want you realistically to be prepared to apply. And, you know, these days, the average GPA to get into medical school is like 3.6, 3.7. So we want you to get closer to that versus like, let's say a 3.0 or less. So that's why we have that criterion in place of getting a B or better to remain in the minor. these so once you're in the minor, you have some of your science classes count towards the minor. You'll also be taking classes like psychology, sociology, epidemiology, social studies, that kind of thing. So the minor gives you also just a little bit more depth to your education beyond the sciences. And then also, lastly, to get into the minor, you have to take certain prerequisites and get a B or better before we say, okay, you're in the minor now. You have to complete general chemistry, which is chemistry 120A and 120B, biology 151, and whatever math class you're taking. So some of you might be taking math 150A, some of you might be taking math 130. Maybe some of you have to do math 115 before you can get into 130, which is fine, no problem. But whatever that math class is, you have to get a B or better before you can get into the minor, as well as a chemistry and biology. Alrighty, next slide. Okay, linkages, getting a jump start. So as I mentioned, linkage programs are agreements between Cal State Fullerton and various health professional schools that give students conditional acceptance into a program. So basically these professional schools, from their viewpoint, they want to pick local kids who would be a good contribution to their school. Oftentimes they're looking for ethnically diverse students, underrepresented students, students who are first in their family to go to college, students who, what else? Maybe have had socioeconomic challenges. Oftentimes, our linkage partners are interested in such students because they bring diversity to the health professions, because those kind of people can relate better to patients they serve who might be in low-income communities, have been disadvantaged, maybe language barriers, those kind of things. And so the nice thing about linkages is a special consideration for admissions. As I mentioned, you don't have to apply to other schools. Western will say, hey, as long as you meet some minimal requirements, we'll take you, by the time you finish. And it's just not as much as hassle. It saves students for application fees. So one thing about application fees, when you apply to professional schools, like let's say dental school, you have to pay for every school you apply to. And I would say a healthy number of dental schools to apply to is around 20 or so. Times that by $100. And then even secondary applications, which is another set of essays they'd like you to answer, you might have to pay an extra fee for that. So by the time you get to the point that you want to apply, you want to have a good few $1,000s saved up to be able to apply and that kind of thing. Alrighty, next slide. So linkages, so by the way, if you had a linkage, you wouldn't even have to bother about application fees because you wouldn't have to pay to apply to multiple schools. Just this one school will take you as long as you meet some requirements. Linkages that we currently have, hey, come here. Can you tell them to be quiet? Okay. Yeah. All right. Current linkages that Cal State Fullerton students currently have is Lake Erie College of Medicine. They have 2 campuses in Pennsylvania, 1 in Florida. They have osteopathic medical school, dental school, and pharmacy school. And it's interesting because they identify students as high school seniors who are, really good AP scores, SAT scores, et cetera, good GPA. And what their deal is, they have to get their degree in 4 years, complete the science classes. And as long as they can do that over the course of 4 years and have a certain GPA, they're into LECOM, which is awesome. Western University, which is just up the 57 freeway in Pomona, we have linkages for them for osteopathic medical school, podiatry school, pharmacy school, and dental school. And they're particularly interested in underserved minorities, first generation to go to college, that kind of thing. We've had a lot of students utilize that linkage. Marshall V. Ketchum University, we have a linkage with them for pharmacy school and PA school. And so, yeah, I forgot to put the PA part of it in there. And they guarantee interviews for qualified students who are part of that club I was talking about, physician assistants coming together. They give guaranteed interviews for up to 5 students who took all the coursework and have at least a 3.2 GPA. American University of Antigua and St. George's, both medical schools can be applied to relatively late, like even your senior year, with special consideration. I think what they do is AUA, American University of Antigua, they even waive your application fee if you're a Cal State Fullerton student. St. George's, they're pretty good about accepting interested students who have around a 3.3 GPA. Ross University School of Veterinary Medicine, that's one of our relatively newer linkages. We haven't had any students utilize it yet, as far as I know, but they also have certain minimal requirements like a 3.0 or 3.2 GPA. Okay, so if you're interested in those linkages, definitely contact me and we can discuss whether you're eligible or not, or what you'd have to do to become eligible. Okay, so let's get to true and false trivia questions, except for I can't hear you, but I'll just give the answers. Can those applications be waived when applying to those schools? The answer is, if you are going to be a linkage student, the answer is yes, you wouldn't have an application fee. But you could still apply to those schools without being a linkage candidate, which in that case you would be paying the application fee. Okay, true or false trivia questions. It is harder for a Cal State Fullerton student to get into medical school than it is for a Stanford student. And we would say, of course it would be harder. My God, they're from Stanford. Well, I would beg to say the answer is false. I mean, being in an admissions committee myself, I realize people say, oh, the student is from Stanford. But, that's kind of eye candy. But when they look further, they start looking at your GPA, they start looking at your experiences, they start looking at your personal statement. And those are the things that matter versus what school you went to. And just so you know, the centralized application system for medical school, which is called ADCAS, they collect data on students who get accepted. And the average GPA of students from Cal State Fullerton who got accepted was 3.66, which is pretty good. Nationwide, so we're talking about students who come from Duke University, Stanford, Johns Hopkins, UCLA, everywhere, you name it. The average GPA of everybody throughout the US who got accepted into a medical school, which is like 55, 60,000 students, was also a 3.66 GPA. So basically what this data is showing you is that schools do not discriminate based on what school you go to. If you meet the criteria, if you get really good grades, no matter where you are, good experiences, good MCAT score, you can get in. So don't feel like you have to transfer to UC Irvine or anything like that. Yesterday I got a question. Well, I want to transfer. My plan is to transfer to UC Irvine so that I can get into medical school. And I'm saying, duh, you don't need to. Don't do it. Don't do it. You don't need to. Question number 2. If I get a C in one of my prerequisite classes, I cannot get into a health professional school. Do I just need to pack my bags and say, find another profession? Well, the answer is false. I mean, yeah, C's aren't the greatest thing to have, but if you have 1 or 2, especially if it's earlier on your career, but then you have a good streak from then on, it's okay. You can get through it. It's what you do afterwards. On the admissions committee I'm on, there was one doctor who said, oh, I was on academic probation my first semester in undergrad. I didn't have my act together, and look where he is now. He's a doctor. Number 3, I needed to take all of my prerequisite classes as an undergraduate student in order to apply to a health professional school. This is false. Sometimes students think that, oh, microbiology is not my major, but I need it to get into PA school. I must somehow fit it into my schedule. I might need to take an extra semester to graduate because I need this microbiology class. The answer is, you know what? You don't need to do that. If you want to graduate, you could go ahead and graduate. You could take that microbiology class at a junior college if you wanted to. A common question I get asked is, oh my God, can I take a class at a junior college? Is that like taboo? Is it not going to even work if, our school's going to even accept that? The answer is they will, especially if you tell them that you're, trying to save money, you don't have much money. It's acceptable. It's okay to take some classes at a junior college if needed. Okay, number 4, it is always better to graduate with a double major whenever possible. No, you don't feel like you need to. Some people feel like they have to add 2 minors, 3 minors, or another major. The academic coursework itself, I mean, they expect you to do all the science classes. That's what they're going to look at most, first and foremost. If you choose to double major in business, for example, I've seen a lot of pre-dental students who want to major in a science and then even maybe double major with business. That's fine because they're interested in that. They want to make use of that other major. I mean, if you want to do that, perfectly okay, and you could talk about why it was important for you to do that double major, but just to do it for the sake of doing it, please don't. Save your money, save your time, do really well in the major you have, okay? And oh, I think there was one more question, Shonda. I know I'm too slow.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that.
I'm too slow, but I'll try to speed it up for you. Okay, number
no,
5.
Fine.
Research in a medically oriented area, because I'm faculty, Shonda. That's why we all talk too much. You know that about us.
We love it. Yeah, we love the word.
Well, anyways, number 5, research in a medically oriented area such as cancer, molecular biology, genetics, etc., is necessary. Hey, it's great. You know, I think it's great to have research experience, especially if you're applying to medical school, but not necessary if you don't get it. You could do psychology research, you could do sociology research, or if you just simply don't have the time, you don't have to do research, even though it's very helpful to do so for medical school, but you don't have to. So that's just the main thing there. Okay, so I think I'm at my last slide here. A roadmap for success. You know, some of you might be freshmen, sophomores, juniors, variety of things. Just some ideas of what you could do. You could go visit 1 to 2 pre-health student organizations, just check them out, see what you can gain from them and vice versa, how you could serve them. Try out some community service. It doesn't have to be clinical. It could be Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, the soup kitchen next door to you, whatever. All those things are important for your preparation for any health profession, because they want to see that you've been out and about in the community and that you understand the community's needs, even if it's not in a health setting. Check out some prerequisites for a few health professions that you're interested in. This particular profession needs genetics. Oh, I didn't know that. Sophomore year, start some clinical service, get one-on-one pre-health advising, engage in leadership and research opportunities. Well, you can get advising from any of us, even from your freshman year onwards. I've seen a lot of freshmen. Junior year, finish up your prerequisites, study for the standardized test. It could be the MCAT, GRE, whatever it is. It might be later for you. You might push it off because you don't have enough time, which is perfectly okay. Complete your intent to apply application so you can get that committee letter or get my support for, you know, whatever you need, your needs are for applying. Continue clinical service. That's something, you know, it's always good to start early. I know Shonda's going to talk about gaining experiences. It's never too early to start. And usually, so just so you know, the application process is a 1-year process. So you'll apply, let's say June, July, something like that. Basically August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April is fair game for you to get a follow-up email. Oh, you're going to get interviewed next week or next month or something like that. So it's a long process that, you know, takes a while. Longer than a pregnancy, longer than 9 months. I would say it's more like 15 months. So, you know, it takes a lot of time. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint to get into the profession you're interested in. It's a bit of a marathon, but while during your stay at Cal State Fullerton, you have support along the way. So I think that is about what I have, Shonda.
Well, you have one more, like a wrap up. I hear this last.
Oh, I do have a wrap up. Oh, okay. Really focus on your academic achievement your first year, because you know what? You could make some big gains your first year. Sometimes students kind of falter a little bit, have a hard time their first year. If you really put your effort into studying, be a little bit of a nerd, you know, especially with COVID, don't, you know, keep your social distance and really study, hit the books, get your study habits going, and get a good GPA. Get that 3.5, get that 4.0, get that 3.9, because you know what? When you start early with good grades, it's easier to keep up good grades. It's harder if you start off with with grades that aren't so strong, and then you have to play catch up. So really work on your academic. Oh, question, do PAs go to medical school? They go to PA school. They don't go to MD school. So that's a different, 2 different schools altogether. Number 2, don't suffer alone. There's a lot of free resources on campus. There's a lot of advisors on campus. All you have to do is meet one of them, and they should refer you to whatever resource you need. You know, even if it's something like, oh, I don't have food to eat, you know, we have the Toughies basic needs and all that kind of stuff, which can provide you some resources in that regard. Number 3, get involved. Student clubs and hands-on experience in the profession. prior to join too can be very helpful. Of course, you don't want to get super involved too early. I mean, you want to have some involvement, but don't you want to pace yourself and really focus on your academics to get the good grades. And don't rely on any one person for advice. Go get advice from our resources on campus versus let's say social media or just your dorm mate or whatever. So those are my last 2 cents to pass on the baton. Oh, where do I sign up for student health organizations? You can go to Titan link. And number 2, what you can also do is I could give you flyers to whatever student organizations for their social media so you could join them, and then you could find out when their next meetings are and all that stuff, which they'll probably do through Zoom for this semester coming, since we're not going to be meeting in person. So yeah, okay. Awesome. Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and then we'll still do questions after I wrap up to the career section. So yeah, so
okay.
Yeah, so,
I'm going to mute myself because I know there's so much noise in the background here. So it's taking over the whole house. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll talk about the Career Center and the services we have. And if you don't follow us on Instagram, I'd recommend you to follow us at CSUF Career, because that's where we'll have a lot of, where we promote a lot about our events and workshops and things like that. So just letting you know, just like Dr. Matapa said, our school doesn't close. So for the summer, we're still open. We're still seeing people. Because of COVID-19 and that all our staff are working from home, we've been offering a lot of workshops in the summer like we are right now. And that's something we normally don't do. So that's been a big push for us because we realize that students want a lot of resources, especially about finding jobs during this time. So just if you're curious about workshops, check out our website or our Instagram. We have something called drive-through services, and that means that you can basically do drop-ins for 10-15 minute quick questions and no appointment needed. So for the summer, it's on Monday to Thursday, anytime from 11 a.m. to 1:45 p.m. Those are typically when students will want us to review their resume or cover letter or just, again, a quick question. And we're doing virtual appointments that you can schedule on our website. So I am the NSM career specialist. So what's really cool about our school is that we have a dedicated career specialist for every college. So my focus is with natural science and mathematics. And so you can always schedule an appointment to meet with me. And these are kind of all the topics I cover. So anything from, if you're thinking about changing careers, you're not sure what you want to do, we can explore that. I can check and help you write your resume, your cover letter, prep for interviews, look for internships and jobs. But usually where I usually see health profession students is kind of in the later phase of their academic life is when their career is. Then they'll see me usually when they're their senior year or or after they graduated. And so they're actually working on the application. So they will see me to do statement of purpose reviews, and also I do mock interviews, practice interviewing. So again, you would just schedule an appointment with me on our website, and you can always email if you have a question. One of the really nice perks about our school, the Career Center is able to see students an entire year after you graduate. So basically, once you're an alum for 1 year, you could still see us for individual counseling. And so that's a huge thing. I went to UC Irvine, and UC Irvine, once you graduate, they charge you to see the Career Center. And that happened to me. When I graduated, I had to pay to see the Career Center that I actually didn't even use when I was a student there.
Ooh.
I know. So take advantage of the services we have, and just know that that's a nice perk too. That usually, Dr. Matapa kind of mentioned that some students will take a gap year, and that's totally fine. And that's usually when I'll see students that gap year after they graduate. That's when they're getting ready to apply. So finding hands-on experience. So the place to go to find internships and volunteering and jobs like that through Cal State Fullerton is a site called Time Connection. So you'll probably notice that our school has a lot of things called Time, your Time Degree Audit, Time Portal, all these things. So Time Connection is your career portal. So this is a link and things like that. So the Time Connection allows you to, that's where you'll schedule appointments to meet with me. It lets you upload your resume for jobs that are in there. You could create a resume in there, you can search for companies, and you could register for our career events and workshops. So this is just, I screenshotted what Time Connection looks like. So when you go on Time Connection, what you'll do is look on the left-hand side, and there's a jobs feature. And you would click search jobs and internships to find jobs. There's also some other links here too. We have a link for Associated Students Incorporated, ASI, and that's actually our student government. Or so basically you pay student fees that go into ASI, and so they have their own set of funds, and they hire students for positions related to ASI. So for instance, like the Child Care Center, the Rec Center, anything in the student union, those kind of positions will be under the ASI link. And then we also have campus auxiliary job search. Those might be some other positions that aren't that are offered through the school too. And then now, because of COVID-19, we have created a special link here that is a COVID-19 approved internships. Okay, this link. So when you're in Time Connection, you could filter these little tabs here to find jobs that you're looking for. So one of the things I would recommend for being a pre-health student to find health related experiences. So if you go into the job function area, so you'll see all these different types of industry areas. And so you can click on health education, promotion, or health professions, just as an idea. And then and then once you get your list, so actually that's what I looked on here. So I found there's over 200 different types of opportunities, and you can set up in this right upper hand corner, you could create a job alert. So basically once you make a search and you like what you found, I say create a job alert, and that way you can get it emailed to you weekly or monthly. And I say that because sometimes I see students who they go on Time Connection one time and then they get frustrated. There's nothing that they want, and then they never go back on the site again, right? But jobs get posted continuously. So I would say create that job alert, and other websites do create job alerts, and then that way you can get emailed when new positions do come up, okay? Someone's asked, do you think medical scribe count as patient care hours for PA school? Yeah, so scribe does usually, will be as experience on there.
I would say, Shonda, typically yes. I mean, there's some schools that would specify we want the hands-on interaction, and they may not want scribing because that's not touching the patient. But a lot of schools a lot of PA schools would accept it.
So create a job alert. Another note I wanted to mention about finding work experiences related to health. Unfortunately, a lot of experiences in the healthcare setting for college students are unpaid. They're going to expect it to be volunteer. And that's just kind of the nature of the industry. They know they're, in some ways, I feel like I feel sad. It's tough. It's a tough situation because they always know there's an endless supply of pre-med, pre-health students. And so they always can get volunteers, and that's kind of what I just noticed, the pattern that happens. So just know that a lot of those experiences are going to be volunteer. For students that I typically see who have healthcare positions that are paid, it's usually because they have some type of licensing certification for that job. And so for instance, I'll see students who are a nursing assistant, medical assistant, EMT, phlebotomy, pharmacy tech. And that's because maybe they had a program in their high school or their community college, or they take the licensing exams on the side while they're a Cal State Fullerton student. So that is something you could also do if you're interested in working in some type of area and you need to get a certification, and then that way you can work in the health field. Otherwise, you could probably find a volunteer position. So here are some ideas of places you can get hands-on experience. So Cope Health Scholars, they're a popular organization that partners with our school. So they're a volunteer program, and they take students from freshman year all the way to after you graduate. It is a way to get clinical experience in a hospital. You get to work side by side with nurses and physicians. You do get to receive 30 hours of intensive training before you start clinical rotations. And so what I do like about this program is they do try to create a very formalized, structured program to train students. And what I also I do like about them is they're offered at a lot of hospitals in the area. So not just the ones in Orange County, they also have them in Riverside, LA County, and probably even if you live farther away, you can probably talk to them and see what other areas they're in. So that is a popular place that I'll see people try to get experiences at. In the chat, someone mentioned scribing. So I know an organization called StudentScribes. So this one's not paid, it's a volunteer program. and it's run by students for students. And scribing is basically like trying to be a note taker for the physician. And this allows students to directly shadow and scribe private doctors and medical professionals. So from what I learned about this organization, that's a little different from paid scribe companies. Is paid scribe companies will typically be at the hospital, and they can be very like time consuming. So that might be hard to do as a student, because they'll be like at least 20 hours a week. And you're in an ER office, so super busy like office, and you might not always be with the same doctors. Usually you're not, you're just seeing whoever you're working with. But what I've heard from this experience is you actually get to shadow like the same people. So you actually build that relationship with your doctor. Scribes are either pre-med, pre-nursing, or pre-PA. What I've also liked about this, actually our president of the American Medical Student Association, she's the one who told me about this. She is a student scribe. What she liked about it is that it's not a big time commitment, because the big thing with being a pre-med student is you need to focus on those grades, you know. And so she was telling me, I don't want, you know, trying to do a 20-hour job would be too much. So they require 2 shifts a week for 4 hours each. So that's an 8-hour-a-week commitment. So for her, she felt like that was a great time commitment for her. So that's just another opportunity. There's an organization called Orange County Health Scholars. It's different from COPE Health Scholars, kind of similar name. This is a volunteer program for college students. Their focus is on improving healthcare in underserved communities. And instead of in the hospital setting, they work at community health centers. So what I thought was really cool with their program is they give the students in the program a lot of ownership. And so basically they run a lot of different programs in these community health centers, such as like healthy eating habits for kids with diabetes, or like with elderly who don't speak another language. They'll help try to translate, you know, from the doctor to the patient. So, and a really cool thing with their program is, I put the statistics here of like 100% of students in their program who've applied to graduate schools have been admitted to their medical or health profession school. So they have an application process that they take on students. You can check out their website. And then another organization I know is called East West Medical Group. And so they have a strong internship program with Cal State Fullerton. It's also volunteer. You get hands-on medical service-oriented internship. And you provide non-medical assistance to the doctors, patients, and clinical staff. And it lets you get experience in something a little more different, because they actually are doing integrative medicine, where they are actually doing Eastern and Western medicine. And they're located close to a school in Fullerton. So those are just some ideas. Oh, and lastly, I wanted to mention there's also hospices. So hospice care is focusing on helping someone with a terminal illness live as well as possible. So I see a lot of requests from hospice that are always looking for student volunteers, especially to have interactions with their patients. And so I've noticed from some of the students that I've talked to, when I read their personal statements, students who have done a lot of hospice care and really love hospice care, it's very moving, and they get a lot of great experiences, and I see them write it in their personal statements. As an example, we actually have virtual internships happening now in the hospices. So this is just a sample posting that they actually still want student companions in bereavement. And basically you'll just be doing like virtual meetings with the patients at the hospice. And lastly, you can always volunteer at a hospital. And I would say to just check out the hospital's website for their volunteer process, because every hospital will have their own like volunteer orientation and so forth. And I've been getting a lot of questions about COVID-19, like what to do during COVID-19. And I know a lot of people are afraid of like safety and things like that. So again, you can go on Time Connection and click on the COVID-19 approved internships and see what's out there. And also, well, relating to that, what I do know, like relating to health field, is like some of them are offering like basically like virtual internships related to the healthcare setting. And then also they're still in person too, because they still need in-person help. And other ideas for pre-health students. So by being an NSM student, so NSM, in the NSM college, their focus is research. They love research, and that's a great opportunity about being a part of the NSM college. So if you want to participate in undergraduate research, that's a great experience to have. And I'll see students also in their personal statements for med school or whatever health school they're going to, they might talk about the research they did in undergrad, right? You can also apply to a summer research program, and I put a link there too. There's tons of summer research programs happening at universities and labs all over the country. It's great experience, and they pay a lot of money and a lot of resources. So usually what I see, and it's something really beneficial of being a science student. So they'll like have summer research programs, usually are run for like 6-8 weeks in the summer. You get paid like $5,000 or $6,000 for the summer. They'll also like usually give you room and board. If it's like at a university campus, they may even pay for your travel, your airfare, and pay for you to go to like a conference to present on your research. So it's really designed to kind of encourage you to go to like a PhD graduate school and see how well you like doing research. You can also find like summer pre-health programs. They have them all over the country, and you can kind of try to apply to those and see if doing one of those. And those are typically summer pre-health programs. They may look a lot different, but a lot of them, it's usually maybe like having you take courses and a lot of professional development and a lot of like mentorship and training related to going into the health field. But really a great other idea is getting involved in doing community service. It was funny, I think this past school year, I had like a junior or senior come in to me, and the student had a lot of experience, but she wanted to talk about community service. She's like, actually, I haven't done any community service, and I need it for my dental application. And so all of you are, by going into helping fields, you're going to be serving the community. So by being really active in the community is a great way to show, admission committees. And so, and especially a great way to get started and getting experience. So like you could check out Volunteer Match. And there's a lot of volunteer projects that you can able to do like from home. And it doesn't have to be health related, right? It could just be an area that you're passionate about and you're meeting other people and you're building your skills. So here's an example of a summer health program. So this is called Summer Health Professions Educational Program, SHPEP. So it's a national program. It's open for freshmen or sophomores and who are attending colleges. It's a free summer enrichment program to help you go into the health professions. And they really focus on underrepresented students. So students who are racially underrepresented in the health field. They're either are low income or come from historically disadvantaged educational backgrounds. So basically, like if you're first in your family to go to college, that's what that means. That kind of means that you could apply for this. If you're like a minority group, if you're a low income, those are the kind of students that they really want to encourage to apply to this. And they have 12 different universities all over the country that you can choose to apply to. So that website will talk about it more. I know this year they had to, they weren't able to run the program due to COVID, but I'm thinking hopefully in the future for next year, so that might be a possibility. And then other ways the Career Center can help you. So there's online resources on our website. Two things I thought might be for you all is that we have a website called VMock, and that lets you actually get a resume reviewed right on the spot from home. So all it does is submit your resume, and then it uses artificial intelligence, and basically it'll give you an instant score, 1 out of 100, and they'll give you feedback right away. And so usually I tell students, like, do that first, and then if you like see something on there you don't agree with or you're confused, then come see me or someone at the Career Center to kind of like get assistance. And then also, being in the health field, you have to get really skilled with interviewing, right, to get into these schools. And so we have this great website called Interview Stream that is lets you practice interviewing on your own. So it also uses like artificial intelligence. So what's really cool is like you could tell them what you're applying for. So like they even have like medical school, dental school, and they have a list of questions that you get to pick, and you pick the questions you want, and then like the computer will ask it to you, and you get 2 minutes to record your response. And then you get to instantly watch your video afterwards. And no one else sees it unless you want to. You could share it with others if you want to share it with friends. So I say before any video interview, use Interview Stream as practice. You can also meet us individually for appointments, such as like reviewing your resume. Maybe you need help finding experiences. We can work together on trying to see about looking for positions. I help review personal statements for grad school, and I help doing practice interviewing for grad school. Other things that we do too is we try to put on career workshops like this one here. We also, with my colleague in the Health and Human Development College, we put on a series called the Health Professions Exposed. So for this year, we'll probably do it in the springtime. And our website does have copies of our past presentations. I put a picture here of an event we did with Dr. Mutapa in the Health Professions Office like last year, where we had a panel of these are our Cal State Fullerton students who got into different health schools. So they got into med school, optometry and dental, and they shared about their experiences. So we really do try to make efforts to have workshops where we do bring in speakers from different health schools and professionals and things like that to give you those types of resources. We do student club presentations. So, you know, if you join a club and are really active in it, and if you want the Career Center to help you out or do a workshop, feel free to email one of us to do a workshop for you. We love doing those. So just as an example of the Pre-Dental Society, they asked if I can come in and do an interview workshop. So this is just a picture of the dental students, like actual practice interviewing each other. So more in a relaxed setting, right? With not stressful. We also, the Career Center is the place that they put on the great big career fairs and grad fairs. So I just wanted to let you know to save the date for our upcoming grad fair. Grad School Expo is going to be Thursday, October 29th. And so this will be virtual, and this would be your opportunity to start to talk to grad schools and health schools. You know, so here's just an example of like some of the schools we had last year, like USC School of Pharmacy, Western University of Health Sciences, and Marshall B. Ketchum University. And I think a little bit too with the new changes with COVID, and a lot of things are going to be turned virtual. So I think I've been telling people, students, to just be really comfortable speaking in front of a video and doing video interviewing. And I think that's how that grad fair will be. If you're interested in talking to these reps, you'll get like 10, 15 minutes of time virtually with them through Zoom. Okay, so we could be open to like questions now with the group. Let me see. We answer the medical scribe. Are these organizations pre-med specific or pre-dental apply as well? I'm not sure with Natalie's which org are they.
I answered the pre-dental stuff, and right.
And then can I be a nurse with a biology major?
So I guess the answer for that one, you'd probably end up going to a post-baccalaureate, or what do you call it? What do you call that? I'm losing it. What is it called?
There's so many now, post.
It's not it's a post.
Accelerated. It's the
accelerated BSN.
Yeah.
Accelerated BSN, or you could even just go the RN route if you needed to. You know, you could apply to both. You could apply to both the accelerated BSN as well as the RN program, and hope to get into the BSN. So basically, you're going to be able to work as a nurse at the BSN level. But if you didn't get in, and this is what I found out from the nursing advisor. So, and then she says, if you don't get in that way, you go in the nurse. So you basically you could do RN, and then if you wanted to, you could do RN BSN and go up that way if you wanted to.
Yeah. So with nursing, there's so many options. So the answer is yes. And we do see students who get into nursing school from biology. So I think definitely that would be great to talk to different advisors to kind of get advice from them on about pursuing nursing. And someone mentioned, and just I'll be sending presentation slides and the recordings to everyone after this presentation. Can you go to medical school with different majors like computer science or business?
Oh, absolutely. Am I on mute? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, absolutely. And that's why we have our post-baccalaureate pre-health program. It's for students who did something completely different. They might have done business, psychology, accounting, and they decided to switch gears, and they just needed to do this prerequisites for medical school or whatever it is they want to do, and they come in specifically for that. So we've had an engineer get into med school, we've had an accountant get into med school, we've had people from different careers who actually worked in that career for a little bit get into med school or dental school or whatever it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I remember that Hear It From Your Peers event I remember the dental student who was an art major, and I just love that story of basically a panel we had an art major got into dental school. And he was just sharing with us when it came to interview day, like when he was with the other pre-dental students, like he ended up standing out because he had an untypical major. Most of the students are usually like science majors. So he was able to like use that art major to make him like stand out. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
For labs being open, we're not sure. That's where you'd want to make sure to talk to your professors. And I think a lot of things are up in the air right now about which labs are going to be approved to go on campus and things like that.
I think it'd be mostly online, but there might be some exceptions. Oh, let's see. If we want to pursue nursing, should we apply to the nursing program that is located on campus? They could, you know, do the transfer nursing pathway, complete those certain prerequisites like the anatomy, the physiology, the A section, GE section A classes, psychology, sociology, statistics, and then you could apply by what, their second or third year. But the problem is the transfer pathway, there's such few students who get accepted, right?
Yes, yeah. So I would say for Kayla, yeah, so, and questions about nursing, because I would say that would be like, yeah, try to talk to the nursing advisors, and you probably want to schedule maybe a meeting with Dr. Mutapa, possibly me too, to kind of, or others, just to get your options there, because there are so many options when it comes to applying to nursing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You did community service in high school, does that count for college?
Well, for med school admissions, and for just like any kind of professional school, they'd want to see you do stuff in your adult life, and that you've done a substantial amount of stuff in your adult life, and not just, oh, I did this way back in high school, but I haven't done any community service since then. We don't want to see an application, or not we, but it'd be preferable to have current community service. Although you could reference it in your application, you wouldn't want that to be the thing that you're, you know, that you're using experience, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then also on the career side, like when we tell students about like writing resumes and stuff, once they're in college, to start removing all the high school stuff. Like we want to focus on college and like going forward for like listing experiences.
Very good. Yeah.
Are there websites or PDFs that contain the prereqs and pathways for PA and MD that you can share or send to students? That's on the health professions website.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, we'll link to the health professions advising website. It's all on there.
So yeah, www.fullerton.edu/health professions.
I'm still deciding between med school and dental school. Does majoring in biology help both of those?
How come I'm not seeing all the questions you're seeing?
Oh, I don't. Well, I think I'm still scrolling.
Oh, you're scrolling.
Or I'm still like, I haven't scrolled all the way down. That's why maybe. You see that?
Oh, okay.
The one after you answered, labs will be online. It's like the next question.
Oh, I'm just not seeing the questions.
Oh.
But it's like frozen.
But Dr. Mutapa, what would you say that if the student's deciding between med school and dental school, is majoring in bio, will that help them?
Sure, because it has both of them. I mean, the prerequisites are very similar. So the chemistry, organic chemistry, biology, physics are in the bio. You know, med school and dental school have those classes in common, and that's in the biology major. So that's perfectly fine.
Okay. Next question, are there specific requirements for the medical school if you have a completely different major?
Oh, I see it now. Now I'm able to, okay. Are there specific requirements for medical school if you, I mean, the requirements are universal. It doesn't matter what major you are. So the biology, chemistry, physics,
exactly.
Organic chemistry, statistics. I mean, it's the same for everybody.
Yeah, you all take the same prereq courses, and that's why the major doesn't typically matter, but people will usually major in the sciences because you will take all those prereqs, like, or most of the prereqs in that major. Where the students major in something else have to take those prereqs
on top of, yeah. And sometimes they're harder to get into because of just registration on this campus.
Yeah, that's for sure. Are there programs for internships such as Cope Health or others open to pre-dental as well? You'd want to check with their website. Well, okay, so for like, for instance, Cope Health is typically more for like pre-med, pre-nursing, and pre-PA. Actually, I think that was on the slide. So it wouldn't be for pre-dental, because pre-dental, you want to get experiences in the dental office, not at the hospital setting. So like, yeah, so I would say, with that. And that's usually another tip I didn't get to mention is I usually also refer students to like, if you finding places to volunteer or experiences or even finding summer programs is check out our nearby schools that actually have a dental school or have a med school. So for instance, like USC has a dental school. So USC will like list a lot of like volunteer opportunities and resources that they offer, you know, and like same like UCI Medical School, they may list when they have like open house events or things like that. So I think you can always check out those type of, or like, but typically pre-dental students, what I see is usually they're trying to get experience volunteering in a dental office. Would it be beneficial from an application standpoint to become an EMT? What do you think, Dr. Matapa?
I would say so. I don't even think it matters which profession you're going into, because I had a dental student who was an EMT, and then he got moved to dispatch. And so he dealt with a lot of stressed out patients, stressed out people on the phone, stress, and patient care interaction. Yeah. So I would say, especially for med school, but even if you're just in any health related profession, I would say EMT is perfect.
Yeah.
You can work under stress, you can work with coworkers, you can work with patients, the nurses you hand the patients over to. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's great. Yeah, and another thing, I didn't get to talk about it, but like the reason I really push to get experiences, and especially in the setting of where you want to be, like if it's a hospital, a dental office, optometry office, because you really want to see like how much you really do like that environment. Like, do you match and get along with the personalities of that profession? So like by being an EMT, you'll get to interact with a lot of different health professionals, and because sometimes I get to hear stories like from alumni or like students like their senior year who are like, oh, I finally started volunteering and I realized I hate it. Like, I don't like the doctors, our personalities don't match, it's too busy, it's this and this. And then they find out their senior year. So I think by getting different experiences in these settings, you get to see like how well you like it, how well you fit in, and so forth. Next question, when is the best time to start preparing for the MCAT?
So I would say, I guess it depends when you're ready to apply, because I would say from an academic coursework standpoint, you would want to at least have gotten your feet wet with organic chemistry. So you would have taken general chemistry and just about completing organic chemistry. Being in biochemistry would be great. So if you're studying biochemistry concurrently with studying for the MCAT, you're in pretty good shape. I've heard students do that and they say that's great. You would have wanted to have the biology classes done, the biology 151, 152, physics 211, 212, your statistics course, your psychology course. So you would have wanted to have all those courses done so you have enough content knowledge to digest the questions on the MCAT. So I would say that's about a point to do it. In terms of length of studying, I would say you'd want to have it probably 4 to 6 months of studying time as well. Some people might even need more. So it's a question of when you're ready to apply. If you're going to apply a given year in June, you'd want to have the MCAT done by May, because it takes about 2 weeks to a month to get the score in. And so you kind of want to time it that way. So it's hard for me to say, oh, your junior year, your senior year, and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, if you're going to go straight from 4 years of undergrad straight into med school, you would have to be studying basically the spring semester of your junior year. I would say most students aren't prepared to do that because they just don't have the kind of time they need to be able to do that, or the experience. But that's how it would look like if you were going to apply, like a when kind of question. So I hope that kind of answered the question. All right.
Getting to nursing school with bio, we kind of talked about that already. So yeah,
yes.
You're gonna have to still apply to nursing school. And
yes.
yeah, our expertise is not nursing. Well, in my former life, I was a nursing advisor. And the interesting with nursing, and I don't want to talk too much with nursing, but like nursing school has become very competitive. So when I worked at Cal State LA Nursing School, they determined it was harder to get into Cal State LA nursing than Harvard, statistically speaking. And so it's kind of interesting. Some people think it's like the easier route, like I'll get into nursing school than medical school, but nursing is very popular. It's very competitive. You definitely can do it, but just definitely have to do your research and apply to like several schools and things like that. Next.
I would say the same about PA school too. People
PA
think,
school, yeah.
oh, I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
going to do med school. I want to be a PA. That's easier. That's less time. And everybody wants to do it too, just like nursing. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but I'm just saying there's a lot of people who have similar ideas of what they want to do.
The next one, I'm not sure if I'm okay. Do the prereqs change if you want to apply for the military scholarship before medical school to become a?
Yeah, and then you mentioned you had the another appointment on August 19 or 9 that would be ready.
Oh, I think that was something else. Okay, sorry. Oh, I'm not sure if I'm understanding that question. So the one about the military scholarship. Okay, so basically what I would mention is that the military does offer health profession scholarships, and it's actually, like, I think a little secret that people don't know about. So,
and we had Manpreet get it. I don't know if you know Manpreet, but it was on the CSUF website. And he's a veteran. So he served. He was an undergrad, then he served, and then he came back, and then he did his post-baccalaureate pre-health, the post-baccalaureate certificate program here at Cal State Fullerton. He went to UC Riverside. And he got it. So he's going to med school, and his tuition is completely paid for by medical school and living expenses. So the requirements don't change at all for that, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know exactly about the medic part, but I think definitely, because basically every branch of the military has a health professions recruiter. And then basically I'm gonna talk to them, and Dr. Majab and myself, we probably have some contacts of those too, if you needed to, like, talk to us and see who those.
Sure. So basically, if you apply for the thing and then you end up applying to med school and you get in, and they deem you acceptable in terms of your, they do some like extensive physical fitness type of stuff too in your health. And as long as you pass all of that and you got into med school on your own merit, they will cover everything. But then there's also some responsibilities that go with it as well. That you have to report in once a year, that you have to serve 4 years for them afterwards. Not necessarily that you do combat, but you have to serve at an Army base.
In that profession, yeah.
Yeah. So.
The next one, can you become a biomedical engineer with a bio major? That one's a little complicated, but basically you'd want to, like, kind of research what biomedical engineering, but basically usually biomedical engineering is you would major in that area. And typically, and it might mean, like, with the bio major, you might have to get other skills, but more likely with the bio major, you might probably have to go on to graduate school to focus in biomedical engineering. Or you might find a school that has a biomedical engineering program. Another one is, do we need to take a post-bac course in order to apply to med school?
Oh, absolutely not. So the post-bac course, okay, post-bac is for people who did not finish the coursework while they were in undergrad because maybe they didn't realize they wanted to do it, and or maybe there's a handful of classes that wasn't needed to graduate. They didn't do it and they need to take some post-bac courses. So there's no specific course. It's just you have to take all the prerequisites, and these prerequisites are pretty much offered in junior college and in four-year universities, with few exceptions.
Great. Okay, I think I went through any other last questions? Okay.
Ooh.
Oh,
I was told that incoming freshmen should take 13 to 14 credits the first year, but I signed up for 17, and I'm deciding to drop an English or math. Is a math 130 more important? Well, I think they both are. They're part of the Golden Four. The Golden Four are the three, A1, A2, A3 in your math. Is that right, Shonda? Or do you know?
Oh, yeah, English and math are part of the Golden Four, yeah. So.
Yeah, and so, what I would do, I mean, just in this sort of circumstance, what I do is keep all the 17 for now, virtually go to class the first week or two, figure out which one is like, oh, I'm so not wanting to do this. That's the one you drop, because, you might end up loving your English professor and you can't stand the math, or it could be vice versa, and you would not know until you were in the class at least for a session or two to realize that. You wouldn't know that now, but then you'd find out later. So I would keep them both and then drop within the first couple of weeks, because then you can do it. Actually, you can't drop after 2 weeks, right? By week 3, you cannot drop. There's like a last day to drop. And then
yeah, usually the first 2 weeks, yeah, that'd be the best. Yeah.
And that allows somebody else to grab the class if you drop, so that's fine. Okay, is it common to go straight into PA school or medical school right after undergrad? I would say a lot of our students do. Right after, I mean, you know, a lot of times for PA schools, people need to catch up with experience, so they might take a gap year. And okay, so I would say, now I'm understanding the question. I would say more often than not, at least for our students, more students than not take a gap year for the sake of catching up with experience or studying for the MCAT, or maybe a random class or two they didn't take. Or, you know, it basically takes somebody who's had the time to take all the courses, get all the experience, have time to study for the MCAT to go straight. And we do certainly have some of those students, but I would say more often than not, our students have more responsibility so that they don't get around to it. So.
And I remember when I talked to Marshall B. Ketchum University across the street from Cal State Fullerton, like their PA program was telling me that their average, like the average students in PA school is like in their mid to late 20s.
Oh yeah, 26, 27.
Yeah, so that just gives you a sample of like, yeah, they probably, because it takes some of that time to get their experience and work on like all the applications, and like sometimes they don't even get in the first time, they'll apply again. Or,
yeah,
so.
Absolutely. And med school, I think, is like 24, 25. You know, they're not like 22. So yeah, absolutely. So if we want to be a nurse, can we take the prerequisite courses? Oh yeah, absolutely. At a community college, you could take, if you're going to be a nurse, you could take prerequisite courses at a community college. If so, will they be transferable to Fullerton? Like, let's say you're trying to get into the transfer pathway. Yeah, definitely. You can use assist.org, www.assist.org, to make sure that it's the equivalent course that you're taking. That's, you know, that transfers over to Cal State Fullerton. Yep. Oh, thank you.
Yes, great. Okay, I think, we kind of went over so I think we had a nice amount of time. Last question.
I think we did good with time.
Yeah, I know. Any last words or anything before we sign off? Or I think this should be good. All right, so let's probably wrap things up. Anything else, Dr. Mutapa? Are you?
I mean, not that I'm seeing you guys that much. Oh.
One more. Okay, this will be our last question.
If my undergraduate GPA is not high enough for medical school, if I go to graduate school and get a master's degree in science and do well in the graduate school, does that help? Absolutely. We have had, like, I've had one dental school student who, same reason, didn't start off well, did the master's in biology degree and is applying to dental school, and he had a good GPA in the dental school. So that is definitely in the realm of possibility. I've had a student or two definitely do something like that. You know, if your undergraduate GPA is still low, I mean, it's kind of hard, but yeah, yeah, you can get that degree. It's going to help. During this pandemic, if we are at CSUF, can we take some? Oh yeah, I mean, you could take community college classes just whenever. I mean, I've had students not be able to get into something, and maybe they're taking 4 classes at Cal State Fullerton, and they take one random class at Fullerton College just because they couldn't get it. You know, so dual enrollment does happen. I've heard of students doing dual enrollment.
Yeah, but if this is your first semester at Cal State Fullerton, if you're a freshman, I would say you want to double check with your like academic advisors and financial aid. Because usually I notice like with financial aid by a first freshman student, you might have to be full-time at Cal State Fullerton. And so you'd have to take basically extra classes at the community college. So you basically kind of be taking an extra load or something. You don't want to make sure with that if you're getting financial aid or things like that.
Yeah, typically you'd want for financial aid, you probably have minimum 12 units that you take on our campus, and you'd probably have to pay on your own dime for I shouldn't say probably, maybe have to pay.
There's a way to share it, but you have to do a lot of work with both financial aid offices and their admissions offices, and
Right.
Great. So so thanks everyone for these questions. I will later on wrap all this up and get the recording and I'll clean up the presentation, add some links, and then I'll send everybody through email a copy of the presentation, the slides, and like websites for how you can contact us in the future. So yeah, feel free, like what Dr. Mutapa mentioned, like you could make appointments with us, and doesn't have to be now, it could be throughout your time while you're here at Cal State Fullerton.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you. As far as I can tell, this is a success. I enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
Hope you did too.
I think so
And
too.
nice talking to everybody.
I know. All right. Awesome. Great. Okay, I'll end
All
it.
right.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, Shonda. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye,
bye.
everybody. Have a great week.